Welcome back to Goodness and Gracious. I'm Renee.
I'm Chrissy. Well, we haven't actually ever seen them, but
True.
They haven't seen us since last year. I know it's such a lame joke, isn't it? I hate it, but I have to do it. We are so excited about what God has planned for this year. We're going to have hopefully some changes in set, some different guests. Yep. And some different topics, which hopefully would be able to bring you different topics. But the word of God changes not. So, right. Along with God. So we could talk about the same things over and over and over again, and it would still never get old. But hopefully we'll have some new things that we haven't presented to you. We've been praying about where God would lead us for the beginning of this year. And I feel that we are going to get all cliche up in here this year. And I keep saying that word, but that's just the way it is, I guess.
I'm going to make you a shirt.
Yeah.
It says cliche.
My other name is cliche.
Exactly. You just have to wear it for a podcast.
That was a good one. Okay, I will. My other name is cliche. So everyone and their sister talks about resolutions this time of year, don't you think? Yeah. Everybody talks about it on every turn. It doesn't matter.
Gets on my everlasting nerves.
Yeah. yes, it does. Because I'm not real good at it. Yeah. But I don't know about you, Renee, but I feel that word gets way overused, don't you think? Because it's everywhere. We're hearing it everywhere. I heard you say the other day that you said, I don't think I've ever had a New Year's resolution. Is that true?
I don't remember ever making one, to be honest with you. Yeah.
You're a strong woman.
Or maybe my mind's just really that bad.
We're going to go with that.
I mean, what?
We're going to go with that.
Okay. That's perfect. I mean, if I have, it's probably like lose weight or, do this.
I believe you.
But I don't ever remember.
Yeah.
For one, I feel like it's just lying.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of agree with you on that. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that this year. I'm not going to do it. And I've had many resolutions over my few years. But I can honestly say that I don't believe I have ever stuck to any of them, because apparently we can clearly see that I have not stuck to at least the weight ones.
I mean, I like to meet somebody that has actually stuck with the resolution, because I don't know of anybody.
Yeah. Mm-mm. No, it's really sad. We do ourselves a great disservice when we don't.
Sad people.
So I don't really think that resolutions are wrong per se. I think that there is a lure to us to begin something or to stop doing something at the beginning of something, whatever that something is.
Listen, I'm sweating and I'm tired.
Because we've overworked you.
Yes, exactly. Lamentations 3:22-23 says, "It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness."
That is some good scripture.
I love it.
I know. I do too. I think about that all the time when I mess up. Well, I can start new tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, God says of himself that his mercies are new every morning. So I think that translates to us as things can be new in the morning or at the beginning of a day. I'm going to start eating better tomorrow. I've already ruined this day. How many times have I said that? I've already ruined this day.
We're not even talking about this day.
We're not talking about the Bruno day.
Yes.
No, we're not talking about this day either. The beginning of a week. The diet starts Monday. This is mine. I am so guilty of that.
Yeah, same.
The beginning of a month. I'm going to stop spending so much on fast food. I've said that before.
I don't have that issue.
I haven't stuck to it. The beginning of a year. We usually reserve this one for the bigger things, like I'm going to lose 30 pounds or I'm going to start buying Christmas presents in January.
I've never heard that one.
I have. I've said
really?
it. Yeah,
you've said
I've said it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's January 8th. Yes. At the time of this recording. I have not purchased one Christmas present yet, and I don't really expect to.
Too early for me.
Yeah.
Takes away from it.
So I've been guilty of all these and more. I would have to say, I have said I'm gonna get that
easy
one out.
for you to say.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't very easy at all.
Rewind that.
I have said I would. I said it right.
Yes.
Read the Bible more, pray more, watch less TV, eat better, exercise more, be more dedicated to others, not be wasteful with my money, and so on and so forth.
I have said all those, but not necessarily as a resolution. As far as at like the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
You know, logically, I would say I'm going to lose weight because we won't go there. But.
Well, I think it's just the lure. Even if we're not saying it's a resolution, I just think that it's the beginning of something. Yeah. So it's very easy to say those things. Yeah. I believe I had the desire to do and stop doing all of those things. I just wasn't dedicated enough.
That's it. Yep.
I started praying about where God would have us to go with our first January podcast, and he showed me in the weirdest way. So I was shopping on Amazon. I know that's a big.
What were you shopping for if you're not doing Christmas presents?
I was at that time.
Oh, at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha.
No, I really was shopping. I was actually Christmas shopping for Josh from his list, and he has like 10,001 books on his list. I was scrolling through his list, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
I think you exaggerated, but yeah, he's got a lot.
No, I know. I asked him. I bet you would say no. It was 10,002.
He's got a lot.
But he's got a lot of books on his list of wants, and some of them were familiar. I came across a book that I read some years back by Warren Wiersbe. That was almost really easy for me to say. It was called Be Resolute. Warren has a collection of Be books. I have read several, and I do recommend them. The word resolute caught my eye, and I was like, what is the technical definition of this word? And if you go to Google and type in resolute, the very first definition that pops up is admirably, I said that, okay, not really good, but okay. I'll try it again. Admirably purposeful.
I'm glad you had to say that because I wouldn't have pronounced it that way. I would have put admirably.
I don't know, potato. Determined and unwavering. And I was like, wow. Admirably purposeful, determined, unwavering. Does that sound like you in anything you do, let alone your New Year's resolutions? Not for me, it doesn't. No. I am ashamed to say that it doesn't describe me in many areas of my life. Listen to some of these words, though, that are related to resolute. Adamant, bold, courageous, obstinate, persistent, relentless, serious, staunch and loyal, steadfast, strong, stubborn, tenacious, clinging, adhering, uncompromising, unflinching, unshakable, unwavering, unyielding, constant, decided, and dogged. As I read those, I'm like, oh, and I'm getting lower in my seat. It really is not hard to understand why once again, easy. Warren Wiersbe's Be Resolute book stems from the experiences and examples of Daniel and his friends. If there was ever a picture of Resolute in the Bible, it was these guys. They did what was and were themselves pleasing to God, no matter the circumstances that surrounded them. In the first chapter of the book of Daniel, we have a situation where Babylon has besieged Jerusalem and taken captives. And King Nebuchadnezzar asked to have some of the well-favored children of Israel that they could use and teach them their ways. So he wanted some of them set aside so that they could teach them their ways and use them. So they were to set them aside and feed them the king's meat and the king's wine. And Daniel found favor with the prince of eunuchs that was in charge of him and his friends.
So let's read Daniel 1:8. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
So Daniel and his friends were resolute in the purpose of their heart to not defile themselves with the things that the king delighted in. Excuse me. When everyone else was partaking in the king's delights, Daniel and his buddies were eating pulse. While everyone else was eating steak and drinking wine, they were eating, I don't know how to say this word, legumes.
I have no, I would,
legumes. It's legumes. We're going to stick with legumes, the technical term. Peas, beans, and lentils.
That's easier to say.
Yeah. So they're eating this stuff, pulse, while everyone else is eating steak and drinking wine. Because they were determined to be pleasing to God, and God blessed them. Just a couple chapters over, we come to the infamous fiery furnace. Yes, we come to the infamous fiery furnace. So Daniel's friends, being resolved to be what is pleasing to God, puts them in a pickle and causes them to put their money where their mouth is, so to say. The king decreed that everyone was to worship him, his golden statue, and if they did not worship at the appointed time, then that's when they heard the music, they would be cast into the fiery furnace. And one day the music started, and everyone bowed except for Daniel's buddies, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When their disobedience was discovered, they were brought before the king, kind of as a second chance to do what was commanded of the king. They're like, we're going to bring you in. You're going to speak your piece. You're going to be told again what you need to do. And this is your second chance.
Okay. Daniel 3:14 through 18. Whew, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, oh my God.
Either way.
Flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from that fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
I get chills every time I read that. Every single time.
How many of us
We are
do
not
that?
careful. We are not careful. It just, some of the words, I know that God has a purpose for all of the words in the Bible, but there's just some of those words that just strike you and they just stick with you and you want to use them. You have a desire to use them. And we all know how this story ends. They went into the fire. Jesus showed up and they came out of the fire unscathed. But they had no idea what was going to happen. They said they were firm and they believed that God would deliver them, but they weren't sure how that was going to play out. It didn't matter how it was going to play out. They knew that no matter what, God had an expectation of them, and they were not going to veer from it. Mm-hmm. I mean, just knowing that God has an expectation for you, that should be enough to not make you veer from it.
My thinking on that was like, how many of us have said, I believe God, and we did for a while, but it's like he wasn't hearing, he wasn't answering. So we kind of just stepped back and just started fading, and believing that God was really going to do whatever it was, we thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
I hate that. It
Well,
happens too many times for me.
Yeah. And I think we're all like that. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about next, because I think that's something that I would like to get into and talking about. This is what we do, but we don't have to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty excited about it.
One person I thought of from the Bible that is resolute, that we are reading about now in our comprehension Bible reading, is Paul. When Paul set his mind to do it, no matter what came his way, he was resolute, unwavering, which eventually brought him to his death. Acts 20:24 says, But none of these things move me, neither count I my life dear unto myself, so that I might finish my course with joy in the ministry which I have received of the Lord Jesus, to testify the gospel of the grace of God. So no matter how hard it got for Paul, he kept going.
Yeah.
Isn't this how we should be?
Yes, definitely. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because just reading that over and over and over again, I was really glad that you brought it up, because I imagine, I don't know how you are, but I imagine Paul in the scriptures that we're reading, because we're in Acts 20. The thing says 27, but I've been reading 28.
It's supposed to be 28.
Okay, because I've been reading.
That's a typo on someone else's part.
But I love. Okay. But I love when he stretched, when the Bible says he stretched forth his hand and he said, "I think myself happy."
Yeah. I like that.
And
somebody preached on that, and I don't remember who it was. Just that line.
Yeah.
That's always stuck with me.
But he has been. He is resolute in everything that he does. He's unwavering. It doesn't matter what goes on, and it's like King Agrippa said, he almost would have been let go, except he appealed to Caesar. Yeah. But it wasn't about being let go. It was about being committed to being resolute and what the plan that God had for him. So I was really glad that you brought that up. So going back to the book of Daniel, several chapters later, we see Daniel in the same sort of predicament. A new king was in town, King Darius, and he was fond of Daniel. Daniel was his preferred. King Darius had 120 princes, and over these 120 princes, he had 3 presidents, and Daniel was one of these presidents, and he was the more favored of the 3. Due to this, Daniel was hated by the others. So they all got together to conspire to get him in trouble, pretty much. They told the king that he should sign a decree that no one was allowed to petition any other god or person other than him, the king, for the next 30 days. So basically, this meant that if Daniel were to pray to God, he would be breaking the law and thus subject to the punishment of being thrown in a lion's den. So Daniel, being a man of integrity, being resolved to be pleasing to God, went to his house, and with the windows wide open, he commenced praying out in the open, out loud, knowing that the lion's den would surely be his end. Now, as a side note, King Darius was very fond of Daniel, as we had said before. He knew that Daniel served God and regularly prayed to God. King Darius's pride, though, made him forget that the decision he was making would have a dangerous effect on someone he loved.
So Daniel 6:14-15. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king, and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no decree nor statute with the king, which the king established, may be changed.
So the king was sad because he loved Daniel, and he knew that Daniel was simply being resolute. That's what Daniel was being. And the king knew that, which was probably one of the things that the king loved about him. And now he had to send him to certain death. He thought and thought all day. I can imagine that happening. You're trying to figure. Have you ever been in a situation and you're trying to figure out how to get out of it, or how to get somebody that you love out of it, how you're trying to fix it? I can imagine that King Darius was doing that. He thought all day until the sun went down for a way to get Daniel out of this. But at the end of the day, he was bound by his own decree. King Darius sent for Daniel to be cast into the lion's den. I feel like the king was absolutely beside himself at this whole thing. Like, can you imagine? Now he sentenced him to death. Now he's got a summons for him to come after he searched all day for a way to get him out of it. This is one of those nuggets that we unearth in Scripture. Daniel was such a great example of resolution to all that he came into contact with, including the king, that the king himself said to Daniel, "Your God will save you."
So Daniel 6:16, then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee.
Yeah. So once again, we know how the story ends. Daniel was resolved in God's faithfulness, but he didn't know what that was going to look like. It's just like with his friends, they didn't know how it was going to end, and Daniel didn't know how it was, but he was resolved in the fact that God was faithful.
If you knew how it was going to end, you wouldn't need faith.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We have shared some very good godly examples of resolute people. The question is, how do we get to the point of being resolute ourselves? And this is what we will have to look forward to in the next episode. I'm really excited about where God's leading on this, because we read about these people in the Bible and we think that that's for them, but it's not just for them. It's for us as well.
We should want to strive to be like that.
Exactly.
So everybody wants to be resolute. Almost nobody is resolute.
Right.
The people that are resolute, people look up to them. And if you aren't resolute, people have a hard time looking up to you. These were the words of the pastor when I asked him about getting content for the podcast. I'm like, oh, that's pretty profound.
Very wise. Very wise.
Very wise, old man.
Old man.
He's going to listen to this too, isn't he? I am one of those people that have a hard time looking up to others. Not because I'm short either, Chrissy. I have been let down so many times that it just isn't worth it anymore. I know that there are still good people out there, but I am more careful in this category now than I used to be. And I'm excited to get into how to be a resolute person, because I want to be that person, not just with my lips, but with every action that I have and everything in me.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I'm very excited about
I want to be steadfast, unmovable.
Yep. Definitely. And it can be ours. It really, really can. But I think that we're going to learn, though, that it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
It's just definitely not. But I know without a shadow of a doubt that it is what is pleasing to God, and it's what he would have for us. We spend way too much time worrying, pretending like we don't have the ability to know things, because it's just like with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They said, we're not careful to answer you. We're not going to do this. And our God will deliver us. And then they said, but if not, and I think the but if not wasn't whether or not he's going to do it. It was how he was going to do it. If he's not going to do it the way we think,
right,
he surely is going to do it the way he thinks. And his ways are far better than our ways, for sure. And,
definitely.
And so I'm really excited about what we're going to get into. That's all I got.
Yep.
You got anything?
No, I'm good.
All right.
So until next time, see ya.